Okay, I'm here with Holly and Titus, and basically in this video I'm going to show you how you can introduce and enforce an invisible boundary. Holly is a Border Collie mix. This is Holly, sweetheart, and she occasionally will growl at her at the child in the house. If the child comes close to her when she has an item or things along those lines. And I spent some time talking off camera about we don't want to correct or disagree with the dog for growling. We want to find out why the dog's growling and maybe remedy the situation. But if you punish or correct your dog or chastise it for growling, dogs will often learn not to do that, and then they'll just go straight to the nip or the bite. We like the growl. It's actually the antithesis of aggression. So first thing I'm going to do is show you how to teach a dog to leave a room on command. And I'm going to go ahead and I guess show you with him because he's here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show him that I have a treat. Now, anytime you give your dog a treat, they should hear the command word after the treat goes in their mouth. That kind of activates their pleasure receptors. Titus. Titus. So what I'm going to do is let him see that I have it. I toss in the kitchen and I say the word out when he licks it up. And he's going to probably come back and I do it again. Out. So this is a little bit different than what I normally do because it's usually there was a hallway. But what I would do is I would go to every doorway in your house, have a treat for each doorway. What I usually do is take a treat and I rip it in half. So for her, when she comes here, yes, you're going in different directions. So I throw the treat and I say out. So what I usually do, and like I said, this is usually a hallway. So what I usually do is I turn the treat in half, throw it just out of the room. The dog leaves the room and I say the word out. Comes back, I do it a second time. Then I go to this doorway and do the same thing. Titus is jumping up on our camera woman. And so basically what we want to do is teach the dog, anytime we're going to ask them to leave, we want to make sure that we practice it in the easiest version possible. This is the dining room. And it's a little bit disheveled here because the guardians are actually moving in a couple days into a new house. But what you want to do is go around to each doorway or portal in your house. And I would do this one dog at a time. Touch the dog's nose, throw it out, and just create a command to leave the room for every room in the house. Then once I've done out twice with every room in the house, then what I do is I go in the room. Hey, Holly. I throw it in. I might say dining, or I might say kitchen for this room. Come up with a one-word command, the names of the people whose bedrooms it is, deck, or living room, dining room, den, or whatever it is. So after enough repetition, you can tell Titus, den, and he goes into the den because that's where I get the treat when I hear the word den when there's a treat on my mouth. So it's just a nice, easy way for your dogs to learn directional commands that can be very helpful. All right, so I'm going to ask them to. So what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is ask them to leave the room. And I'm going to turn to face them. Now, I'm not going to be facing the camera for this, so please excuse me. All right, sorry about that, buddy. Oh. So I don't want them to leave the room, so I'm blocking it, and I'm keeping my authority facing. Your authority goes whatever direction your hips are pointing at. So now we have two dogs. It's a little bit harder. I can do it, but for you guys, I would have you guys practice one dog at a time. So I'm waiting because she's kind of pacing back and forth, and she's somewhat challenging me. So when she tries to go around me, I go there. And we have a two-way go here. So if that's the case, I'm going to just close this door. Is that okay?
Yep.
All right. So this way, the dogs can't go into an end run. So now that the dog sits, I take a step backwards. And I pause. I'm trying to. Take a step backwards and I pause. So the pause gives me an opportunity to read what the dog's doing. Now we're going to let her come through because she's allowed. And see how the dog kind of got ready but didn't. I take another step backwards. And if you notice when I take these steps backwards, I'm pausing after each step. I'm only taking 2 steps at a time. Now that's an illustration of, come here, sweetheart. This is a little bit too big. I wasn't able to get there close enough to block it. So if that's the case, sometimes I'll take a piece of wood or a cardboard box, I'll move it this way to make this area a little bit narrower. So they're both stationary. I take a step backwards and I pause. They can move around, they can do whatever they want, they just can't cross the threshold. So I take another step backwards. Now if they leave the room, that's okay, they're going to come back around. They're trying to go this way, but they've forgotten that this door is closed. The idea is to practice things. So what I would do is when we have a little one in the house, when she's having a snack, maybe try to get her to eat the snack here and use this as a learning opportunity to help the dogs practice not coming into the room. So what we do is first of all, we tell them to leave the room. Then once they both left the room, then we come up here and we're in a blocking position. But if I stay here the whole time, that's not going to make it easy for me to eat dinner there. So once the dogs are stationary, I take a step backwards and I stop. Now, if I'm a dog here and I'm moving forward and the person takes a step backwards, I'm interpreting as a dog as, oh, they gave up territory for me. So don't ever take a step backwards unless the dog's stationary. So you take a step back and pause. Back and pause. So I'm mirroring the dog. So the dog came forward and I took a step forward. He stopped, I stopped. I didn't have to go all the way to the edge. And there they go again. Puppy, puppy. Paging pair of dogs. There you go. So now I'm going to make it a little bit more challenging. I'm going to take some treats and drop them on the ground. Now I wouldn't do this when you guys are doing it. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. Sitting or laying down is a great signal. I'm not challenging you. I'm putting myself in a less challenging position. So what I would do is I would have your daughter eating her snack there, or you guys have it eat a snack here. If you don't want to eat a real snack, microwave some bacon or roast beef. Sit down and pretend like you're eating, because it sure smells like it to a dog. So every time the dog starts to come forward, you hiss, stand up, and march if you need to. After the dog learns, when there's food here, we're not allowed to cross this threshold. And we can do whatever we want within reason, but I'm just not allowed to cross this threshold. Then when you're actually done eating whatever it is for her, then you could pick her up, put her away. And then if she did drop some stuff, like I've got some stuff here. I had one client where they had a daughter, and the dogs would come and snatch stuff off of her high chair. So what I had them do is put a tablecloth on the ground around one, and we'll put the high chair in the middle of it. And the kid was knocking stuff off, and the dogs, basically the same sort of technique, what we do, independent of the high chair, I just put that on the ground and I threw some treats on it, and I was standing on the pad itself. As the dog tried to approach it, that's a very easy line of where the dog's not allowed to cross. I would march towards it. So the dog learned it would circle around it, but it wouldn't actually go into it. Now kids eat avocados and grapes and raisins, which are all toxic to dogs. But the kids also dropping goldfish all over the place. So what we did was we assigned a funny command word to let the dog eat that stuff. So what we did was once the child was done eating, she took the child out of the high chair, put the child away. Then she came back and she took the high chair away. The dog's still staying away from the boundary. Then she picked up all the grapes, raisins, and avocado and put those away. And then she sat down with her friends, and they're like talking, and her friends like, wow, you've really relaxed. I just couldn't I couldn't sit down when there's food on the floor after my kid. She was like, oh yeah, housekeeping. And the dog came over and licked up all the stuff. Well, we used passive training for that. So every time when we let the dog over, she said housekeeping every time the dog licked up the goldfish. So the dogs learned I can get that stuff, but only with permission from my humans, and I have to wait for the command word. So every time the dog licked up the goldfish or the other thing that's appropriate, we said the word housekeeping. So now the dogs are actually helping us. They get the reward, but it's on your purview, and they understand when the child is eating food, I'm not allowed to get within 7 feet or whatever the boundary is. Now for this, so there's nothing wrong with her trying. She's saying, hey, I just discovered there's some treats that he dropped there. I didn't notice those before. She can want things, because want things doesn't mean we necessarily get them. So don't feel bad about picking all this stuff. If you don't want to give your dog stuff off the food, that's fine. Then you can go and give the dogs a little bit of reward. And when you get done, you might say free or break or freedom so the dogs knows we're done. Or we just simply go over here, pick up all the stuff that we dropped. And then, so I have one. Come here. Free. Free. So whatever the word is that you want to use, when you do invite them in, come up with a command word so that you have a threshold point. So you can be eating dinner, all the food's done, you're talking with your guests, you say free, the dog's like, okay, now we can come through the doorway. So you can do this anywhere you want. I would practice it when we're eating, when she's eating a snack at the couch. Do it in, you can do it invisible if you have. We have another family. I always like how we say we when I'm joining the family. But the family is having another child soon. And so having the dog practice not going into the nursery is awesome practice for that as well. Usually when we try to do that, yes, can I open it for her? Usually when we do this, we're trying to do this when the baby's here and everything else is crazy. So you have, as you get a little bit further along, you're going to want to sit in that comfortable chair that you're probably going to have in that den. Going in there and practicing to spend some time in there, the dogs are not allowed to go in there, and I would say that's a hard rule. They're not allowed to go in there under any circumstance, because there's poopy diapers, there's all these smells, and it's just intoxicating. I want to go in there. So we help the dog practice not going in there before the child comes. When we're preoccupied with the child, we've already taught the dogs how to behave, and we don't have to actually teach that lesson in the most difficult time. Last thing is, a quick pregnancy note. If you are pregnant, I'm not, you always have, like a lot of people have a baby shower where you get all these lotions, and the smell is very attractive to dogs. So what I usually recommend is grabbing a lotion, put a little stripe here and stripe here, so the dog smells the lotion without the commotion of the child around. So you're going to have butt paste, and there's all sorts of crazy weird names for baby stuff. But getting the dog used to smelling that stuff without the baby around sets them up for success as well. And also the day that you have to bring the baby home, I would try to take them to daycare if you can, or just have a dog walker or something where we exercise the heck out of them before. So when the baby comes home for the first time, we've set the dogs up for success by really exercising them well. Holly, this is Holly. Sit. This is Titas, and these are this is how you can create an invisible boundary and help your dogs practice staying behind it.